If no one wants to bring me photos of Spider-Man, fine. I'll take my own photos! Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation and Part 3 of my Maximum Spider-Man saga. I've already reviewed him, I've done the side-by-side comparisons. Today is all about head swaps. That said, with so many options, I'm breaking things down into categories. Before we continue, just a quick reminder that I'm giving a Maximum Spider-Man away to one lucky subscriber. To enter, check out Part 1 of this saga where I review the figure. I'll include the link to that at the end of this video. First things first, I'm not going to be using this alternate sort of winking head. Also, I know a lot of us aren't that crazy about the unmasked version, so just to get it out of the way, we're going to start with seeing how the Peter Parker head looks on other Spidey variants. First things first, and it only makes sense to start with the symbiote costume. This is the Sandman Wave version, and it actually fits pretty well. The proportions on this body style do feel more in line with Maximum Spider-Man, and regardless of how I feel about the Peter Parker head, it sits pretty well here. Next up, and here's Retro Card. With the symbiote being a separate entity, I like the idea that the costume would give Spider-Man a bit more mass. This bulkier body style really lends itself well to that. Secret Wars, by comparison, is slightly smaller. Even so, I don't think the head is too big for this body, especially if you prefer the idea that the symbiote doesn't add any thickness to Spider-Man's costume. If anything, it gives me a lot of hope for when we get around to the Amazing Friends version. The next logical costume choice, for me at least, is Scarlet Spider. Once again, the proportions on this body are pretty good for Maximum. Stepping back, at least you have that lanky 90s style. Obviously for Ben Reilly, you're going to want the hair to be blonde, but if you can snag a loose version of this head, and something tells me that's not going to be a problem, it wouldn't be hard to paint it. Next up is the Retro Card version. Hands down, this is my favorite Scarlet Spider figure, and I frankly don't see a reason for me to get another one ever again. Leastways in this scale. Once again, and with a touch of blonde, this would be just fine. Next up, and for one I don't bring out nearly enough, and here we have the Spider Armor. Being current to that era, this head style works really well with it, and the proportions match up really nicely too. An argument could be made that the head sits a bit high, but I don't think it's a problem. And the cool thing is that when you do this, the helmet becomes a separate accessory. For one of Spidey's most famous armors though, and here we have the Tony Stark provided Iron Spider. I kind of feel the way about this that I do about the Retro Card symbiote suit, which is to say that I think it's a little bit bulky, but because it's armor, that works for me. The head sits well, and this is a fine option. Another one I probably won't bring out a whole lot is Spider-Man Unlimited. For those unfamiliar, it's a nanotech costume he wore in a short-lived animated series. It's a cool design, but admittedly I'm not all that nostalgic for it. At the time, I was way too bitter that they canceled Spider-Man the Animated Series to give this one a proper shake. Finally, for this category anyway, and here we have the Bombastic Bagman. Peter's pretty much an honorary member of the Fantastic Four, but this costume comes from a time when he didn't have his Spider-Man suit. Pretty much, the Fantastic Four lent him one of their old costumes in a paper bag. That said, I know a lot of people aren't crazy about this Peter Parker head sculpt, so maybe it's for the best that the bag stays on. If you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like, but if you'd like to support the channel in an even bigger way, I now have an account with Ko-fi. Think of it as an online tip jar. If you like my content and you'd like to kick in a few bucks to help contribute to making even more of it, well, there's a link for that in the description below. Next, and let's look at Peter Parker himself. First up, and here's the Retro Card version. Unless you start off with Peter being unmasked, I'm not entirely sure why you would use this head on this body. It does scale pretty well though. The alternate head makes more sense and looks pretty good. This head originally came with glasses, which I removed for a different figure, so really this is just to give you an idea of what it would be like. For me, the real question is this configuration. Overall, I think the size of the head is okay for this body, but the skin tones don't match entirely. I also recommend not clicking it completely into place so you don't lose the neck. Next up is Spider-Man the Animated Series. I had my doubts, but the skin tones match up a lot better than I expected. In some ways, I think I might actually like this better than the Retro Card. So if you like this body for Peter but wanted something a bit more comic booky, this is going to be the best way to go. Other way around, and I do not like this as much. The neck is just way too skinny by comparison, and honestly the head sits a bit too high and I think is just a bit too wide. And then lastly for this category is Tom Holland from Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't think anyone was looking for this combination, but if you were, here you go, and I'm happy to help. I for one was way more interested in this combination and I'm pretty happy about it. The size is good and the skin tones match up pretty well, so until Hasbro inevitably gives us another classic Peter Parker on this body, I think this is a pretty good way to go. Moving on, and here we have what I'm calling Spider-Man Adjacent. adjacent. It might not be Spidey in his traditional costume, but we can still swap masks. First up, and it only makes sense to start with the sensational Ben Reilly. Obviously the web lines aren't as tightly packed in on this head, but stepping back, if you like what you see, I do think you can make it work, especially if you prefer this style of eyes. Other way around, and if you wanted your Ben to have more McFarlane style eyes, this isn't too bad either. I do think that those tightly packed webs draw more attention to themselves here than the other way around, but I also think I like the shape of the eyes better here. And while I'm here, here's the Peter Parker head. Once again, it would take a bit of repainting, but now that I have Maximum Spider-Man, I think I might go back to this as my main display Ben. Your other main option, of course, being the retro-carded version. The webs are tighter here, and the reds are a slightly better match. Stepping back though, and I can't help but feel that the neck is a bit too skinny and that the head sits a bit too high. Still, if you really like this look, a Dremel would probably be your best friend. Conversely, this doesn't look that bad. Yeah, the head's a little small and maybe sits a bit low, but if you like the larger eyes, it definitely comes together. And once again, the unmasked head works really well on this body. In fact, I think I'd go so far as to say the more time I spend with the head, the more it's growing on me. For one head that never has, and I have a feeling never will grow on me, and here's the more modern Ben Reilly. I've said it once and I'll say it again, that this head makes Spider-Man look like an alien. If the overall head was narrower, maybe it could work, but as is, this head is way too big and round and the eyes are way too bugged out. Leastways for my tastes. With that being the case, I like this configuration a lot more. Once again, it could be argued that this head's a bit small and sits a bit too low, but thanks to those tightly packed webs, for me the whole thing really comes together. And while I probably don't need to show this combination every time, if it helps you, I'm happy to help. For a slightly different body than what we've been looking at, and here's the Gamerverse version. To my eye, the color, webs, and finish just don't really go together, though I do kind of like the shape of the eyes. Other way around, and I like this better. We can talk about the proportions, but the webs match up pretty nicely, and the different reds don't stand out as much this way around. As for the unmasked head, and listen, say what you will about the Maximum Spider-Man Peter Parker, it's better than anything Insomniac's come up with. Finally for this round, and here we have the superior Spider-Man. For those who are hoping, I'm sorry to say that these just do not match at all. The shades of red and the webbing styles are just too different. Same thing with the alternate head. Obviously that goes the same for the other way around, though if you had to make it work, I do think it looks better this way than the other. Mainly I just wanted to show you the unmasked version. After all, it might be Dr. Octopus's mind, but it's still Peter Parker's body. And now it's time for the main event, Spider-Man himself. First, just a quick note about Ultimate Spider-Man. Because he's a different size, the neck pegs don't match, so I can't do any swaps with him. Starting this section off though, and we've got to bring out Pizza Spidey. I really wish the alternate masked head that came with Maximum Spider-Man was something a bit closer to this. Even so, the colors and the proportions work really well here, and although the webs are a bit more spaced apart on Pizza Spidey, I still think you could get away with it if you wanted to. With that in mind, lest we forget the alternate pizza gobbling head that Pizza Spidey comes with. Thanks to that exposed jaw breaking up the design, this matches up really well. On the flip side, for those wanting Pizza Spidey to look a bit more McFarlane-y, this is a great match. The webs might be packed a bit tighter on the mask than on the body, but pulling back it all comes together nicely, and I'm pretty happy with this. Even the Peter Parker head's pretty solid on this body. For me, it really brings into focus the fact that Maximum Spider-Man just feels like an updated Pizza Spidey. For one that I've been really curious about though, and here we have the retro card. Strictly speaking, this is the same head that comes on the Ben Reilly retro card, so certain things like the skinnier neck or the head sitting high are going to be the same. Still, if you prefer this head style, you could definitely make it work. If you want something even more classic, here's an alternate head with even smaller eyes. It's got the same issues, but if you like it, you like it. As for me, I'm definitely liking the McFarlane head on the retro card body. There's minor differences in the reds and the webbing, but from my point of view, it just really elevates the retro card overall. Again, the Peter Parker head is a solid fit. So far, I'm really digging this one. If, however, I were a gambling man, I would bet that more of you are probably curious about this combo. I do personally feel this head is a bit big for the body, but I can't deny how well the reds match or how nice the bigger eyes look. The webbing on the mask seems a bit sparse compared to the body. I think I prefer the Pizza Spidey head, but this is still pretty decent. The nice thing about Renew Your Vows is it has its own Peter Parker head, and if I'm being honest, I think it's a much better Peter Parker head than the one that comes with with Maximum Spider-Man. If you have both, this is the unmasked look I prefer. Other way around, and once again we have the same discussion about the size and the placement, and again the webs are more tightly packed on Maximum Spider-Man, but if you prefer the Maximum head and the Renew Your Vows body, this might just be the best of both worlds. And while I might like the Renew Your Vows Peter head better, I would be remiss if I didn't show you this one. Once again, it fits fine, and I suppose really just all comes down to personal preference. Quick reminder that Maximum Spider-Man and Renew Your Vows are going to be facing off in an epic versus, along with the winner of my upcoming Mayfex vs. Marvel Select. And who knows, there may even be a surprise or two. Next up, and here we have Spider-Man the Animated Series. Based on the size and style, I don't really think this one works. Stepping back, and again, it just seems too big to me. But hey, if you like it, more power to you. Don't forget that this one also comes with a Peter Parker head, but it's just the same one we've already looked at painted differently. What makes Animated extra special is that it also comes with an alternate Flash Thompson head. Obviously, it's up to you if you like Flash Thompson Spider-Man with these proportions, but it's really nice to have the option. Alternately, the animated body is pretty buff, though the reds match up pretty well, and the webbing is, I think, okay. It's not my favorite combo we've looked at today, but it does have its place. Same thing with the Peter Parker head. It might be from the animated series, but this is still a good overall basic Spider-Man body, and the Peter head solidifies it as a comic book version. But to close this head swap showcase out, and here's the combination I've been the most excited for, the Amazing Friends 3-pack. Admittedly, I'm not that crazy about this configuration. Like most of the others, the webs are too spaced out and the head sits too high, but if I'm being honest, this way around isn't exactly why I was interested. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited. The head sits maybe a hair too low, and of course the webs are very tightly packed in, but I'm pretty happy with what I'm looking at. At the very least, the size of this head is perfect for the proportions of this body. I'm also fairly content with this Peter Parker. Pretty much every Peter Parker head I've tried on this body is too big, so even though it might not be my favorite, at least it fits. Which combination was your favorite? Was there any I didn't get to? Tell me everything in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next part in my Maximum Spider-Man saga, Mayfex vs. Marvel Select. For more web head while you wait though, and check out one of these videos. Until next time, play nice and have fun.